Hi, this is Dyandria. Welcome to The Real News. The reason we refer to this program as The Real News is because we don't edit out the truth, as does corporate media television. Our program today is concerning the use of prescription drugs, antidepressants most specifically, and how they are causing suicides, liver cancer, and even murder. The phone. Yes. Could you please tell us briefly, for the people who missed last week's program, what it is that happened to your son?
I sure will. As a 7-year-old, he was mandated to take Ritalin. Ritalin, which is a carcinogen, which was proven with the earlier test that showed tumors in the liver of mice, has been totally ignored by the pharmaceutical industry, continues to diagnose children ADHD and prescribe Ritalin, which is a carcinogen. My son took it as a 7-year-old. He took it from the age of 7 to 18. When he was 19, he was diagnosed with inoperable liver cancer, and he succumbed to that on April 27th of this year. I buried him a week ago today. He would have been 21 on May 9th, which was on Wednesday of this week, because of liver cancer that was the Ritalin is directly involved in. The pharmaceutical industry knows that Ritalin is a carcinogen. However, they've done tests that showed that it developed tumors in the liver of mice, but they continue to kill our children by diagnosing them ADHD and prescribing medication that is not good for their minds, their bodies, or their souls.
I'm so sorry. What was it you wanted to say to the Reverend?
Well, first of all, Reverend, how many consecutive years was your son taking the Ritalin?
He took it for 11 years.
So from the age of 7 to
until he was 18.
Till about the time he was diagnosed with the...
A year after he stopped taking it, he was diagnosed with inoperable liver cancer.
That's amazing.
So what was it here that you wanted to continue from last week's program?
What were the original reasons why they prescribed Ritalin for your son?
Because he was a spirited child. They called him ADHD. Now, as a child, when I was young, spirited children were disciplined by their parents, and they sat still and they learned. We had dedicated teachers at that time who spent their time getting to know children and the parents of those children, and they worked with the parents to educate our children. We were never, ever given a pill to sit still in our seats.
You know, the spirited child is usually the more intelligent child as well.
And he was extremely intelligent.
Exactly.
He was a ferocious reader.
Exactly.
But because these drugs are nothing less than chemical castration for our male children. So, and if you look at the diagnosis of ADHD, there are more males in the population that have been diagnosed ADHD than female. So they're castrating our children.
Exactly.
And Reverend, what were the qualifications, what were the credentials of the school officials that made this determination? Because from what I understand, the defining characteristics of ADD are very vague and ambiguous.
Well, if you look at, there's a video from the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, which is called Psychiatry, the Industry of Death, which outlines a psychiatric convention where the question of ADHD and how to define it was asked to a panel of psychiatrists who spent 15 minutes trying to define the overall symptoms of ADHD, and in a 15-minute period, they never, ever defined it. This was given to my son by a social worker.
A social worker.
A social worker. So a person that was grossly unqualified to make the determination about whether the child should be placed on, mood-altering drugs.
Absolutely. And you have to understand that school systems across the country receive a stipend when a child is diagnosed and mandated by the school to be put on psychotropic medication. So it's all done for profit.
Oh, absolutely. And additionally, your child is considered a special needs child. Mm-hmm. So they receive additional funding on top of that.
Absolutely. We're in the process now, this country is in the process of racketeering and trafficking children. It's profitable to take children and utilize them for profit margins. It's free because the children don't belong to the system. So every dollar that is made by diagnosing and putting a child on psychotropic drugs is 100% profit.
Exactly.
Now the ADD, the symptoms of ADD that these teachers are citing as the justification for the placing of these children on these types of drugs.
Well, they just don't want to deal with them.
Well, they say restlessness,
Yeah.
or the inability to concentrate,
Right, but many of those so-called symptoms are actually have more to do with the diet, right? Maybe too much sugar in the diet. Maybe too much watching television.
And child rearing.
Some scientists say even too much dairy products.
You know, right? They have taken recess out of most schools. School has been, for the most part, has become closed campus where children go to school and they get 20 minutes for lunch. I've been a teacher in the Chicago public school system. There is no recess. There's 5-minute bathroom breaks, 20-minute lunch, and the day is full of nothing except classroom. And when I was a child, we had 30-minute recess period that took place in the early morning, and we had a break in the afternoon. So we burnt off our energy playing with our classmates. Our children are made to sit in chairs all day long. Even in the workplace, your job is demanded to give a break, a coffee break in the morning and a break in the afternoon to our nation's workers. But our children are now in the position where there are no breaks given to them outside of going to the bathroom and going to lunch.
Mm-hmm. And things like music programs in school have been done away with.
Absolutely.
Things that would give people an outlet, opportunities aside from normal academic activities for mental development. Now, it's also true that delinquent children have been tested, and they found that the lead levels in the blood of the so-called delinquent children was a major contributing factor to the behaviors. But in the prescribing of these types of drugs to our children, no analysis is made, no in-depth analysis, no testing. They don't test the blood of these children before they're put on these drugs. They don't ask probing questions into the diet or into the behavior of these children, or how much television they watch on any given day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you one specific case that I know about. It was an honest doctor. It was not in the state of New York. It was, I forget what state it was. I think it was Massachusetts, but I'm not sure. An honest doctor did a whole lot of testing on this child who was extremely unruly, to an extreme. I mean, he just was totally out of control. And they ran test after test after test, and they finally found out what it was. And it's the oddest thing. He had this allergic reaction to red dye. So if he ate candy that was red, anything with red dye, they eliminated it, and the child was extremely calm thereafter. Mm-hmm. So something as simple as that. But we're talking about an honest doctor. I mean, we're not getting these kind of doctors. We're getting drug-inducing doctors.
There is no concrete evidence or reason to put a child on psychotropic medication. None whatsoever.